Willkommen, bienvenue, welcome once again to a live stream with myself and Richard Pendry of the Risk Consultancy. And we try and pick out topics that we think are relevant within the security industry and discuss them. Today is no exception. There's a Bristolian report of a security guard working at Sainsbury's, but on behalf of Sainsbury's, but at Mighty, I don't know how you put it. Contracted via Mighty to protect, and I'm going to share that with you in a minute. But welcome, Richard.
Yes, Gareth. Wonderful. Thank you for having me again.
Oh, pleasure. But today's topic is all about protecting the public. Yes.
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is, it's this this article that's been debated recently within security circles. And it is about this young man, Jake Davis, who is a qualified SIA licensed security operator, employed by Mighty Security. Now, for those that don't know Mighty is a big security company, one of the biggest security companies in the UK. I've worked for them myself. There's a lot of passionate, intelligent, professional guys working for Mighty, but we're going to look at this because the question is, have they dropped the ball with this one? I'm going to discuss it because this young man who had been at the Sainsbury's store, and let's have a look at this. Sainsbury's use Mighty as what we call a third-party security provider. Yeah, right. The security guard does not work for Sainsbury's. He is contracted to Sainsbury's by Mighty, but his boss is Mighty. Okay, and in the about when he was doing his duty, this is at the end of February, so it's quite recently. He confronted. I'm just going to get it, and we've got it up on the screen there, so people can actually find the link to this. He confronted who he thought was a shoplifter, confronted him and actually got him out of the shop, and actually he'd had about £50 worth of cheese. He was trying to steal 50 quid worth of cheese, and he got the cheese off the guy, and then he evicted him out. And he was then and this is ongoing, okay? And the thing is, we don't know all the ins and outs of it, but he is claiming then that his employer Mighty sacked him because of the physicality. He put hands on the actual person who was alleged to have been in the process of doing shoplifting. So that is the context for it, okay? So that's where we are at the moment. So it is a bigger picture to this. Okay, there's a bigger picture to this, and I don't want to. This is the sort of catalyst for our conversation today, but I don't want to be drawn in too much on this because we don't really know the full facts. Okay, we don't really know the facts, but at the moment, I think Mighty has a bit more explaining to do if they did actually dismiss this security guard who was, to all intents and purposes, going about his duty. Because the thing is, we've got to think about this thing called duty of care. We have a duty of care. Employers, businesses, when they invite you in, they must provide a duty of care to you in that environment to make it, and the duty of care is to make that environment safe and secure. Okay. Well, yeah,
but I need to know what the extents of that are, because if you recall from the article, I'll bring it up again just before we finish, just to make sure everyone's understood. But the article said the reason why I was let go, quite simply, was because he'd put his hands upon the assailant.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Now, what we've got to look at here, we have in the UK a government body called the Security Institute Authority. Okay. So the vast majority of security guards have to have a security license.
Yes.
And in order to gain that license at different levels, you have to do the relevant course, and you have to pass all. You've got to pass it all, right? So there are a number of different things, but the main ones are security guards, and then you have doormen. Okay, these are the two categories of SIA licenses, which are more visual to the general public. So if you go into a commercial store, then that SIA licensed security operator would have the basic man guarding license, okay, frontline license. When you go to a public house, when you go to a club, those guys have what we call a doorman license. Now, under SIA legislation, anybody that has a doorman's license has to have this extra qualification called physical intervention. Right? Physical intervention. It is a part and parcel of doorman license. How it is recommended for the security guard, but there is no. It's
not mandatory.
They don't have to have it. Okay. Now it all comes down to and physical intervention is part of conflict management. But physical intervention, as its name suggests, is about putting hands on, okay, using proportional force if yourself or your colleagues are under a threat of being attacked.
So the bit we don't know is, did he have this qualification?
Well, he might not have, but then
if he didn't have the qualification and yet he physically intervened, that could be seen as contravention to the basis on which he was employed.
But then again, we've got a good Samaritan thing going on here, haven't we? We've got a good Samaritan, and again, we don't know the full facts of it. We haven't seen the CCTV,
no.
But and all to all intents and purposes, it sounds that this guy actually intervened in a theft that was taking place. Now, the guy pulled a knife on him. We haven't mentioned that. Okay, he pulled a bladed weapon on him, which obviously then escalates it, because what's going to happen if you have a hammer, then every problem is a nail. If you carry in a weapon, chances are, if it hits the fan, you're going to use it. Okay, so that's the situation.
Agreed. If you've got a gun in your pocket, if shit hits the fan, you're going to use it. If you've got a knife in your pocket, shit hits the fan, you're going to use it. So is it not the? I didn't read this, but I've been told this by someone else, another security person. The recommendation is, someone pulls a knife on you and you have the option, you walk away.
Well, I mean, as a close protection provider, I'm never standing and fighting with people. I'm always running away. I'm getting my client, and I'm getting out of the danger. I'm getting out of the kill zone as quickly as possible. I'm not there to trade blows with an adversary. Okay, I'm there to get away. I'm always running away from danger into a safe place. However, if somebody pulls a knife on you, then the proportional response, the physical response can be then escalated. I mean, I'm not a violent person. Okay, I'm not a violent person, but violence sits easily with me because of my previous background, and I like to box. I'm a very physical person. I'm not a violent person, but I'm a physical person. It sits easily with me. I would be able to defend myself. Okay, but we don't know, again, the full facts. Was this perpetrator of the alleged shoplifting? Was he threatening anybody else?
Right.
In which case, physical intervention to get that person out would be, to me, to be acceptable. I mean, the thing is, we got to look at the situation that we're in as well, Gareth. I mean, knife crime is on the TV on a daily basis.
It's on the rise. Knives being wholly accessible. You walk into Sainsbury's, you can buy a knife with very little difficulty.
We're up to nearly 50,000 recorded incidents of knife crime, up 5% from last year. Okay,
right.
When we look at then shoplifting, okay, shoplifting is up by 25% in 12 months. 25%. Okay. The other really interesting statistic that I found today, and this is according to co-ops in the store co-op, their research, the police failed to respond to 71% of retail crime.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now we're bringing in a whole separate thing on this. Because I don't think you're suggesting indolence as far as the police is concerned. It's just lack of boots on the ground or lack of availability.
Lack of resources. Yeah, lack of resources. But the thing is, when we look at hybrid policing, which we are going towards, okay, in the UK, the lack of resources that are given to the police, and therefore licensed security guards with security companies are going to step up and fill the gap. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. And if you then get these security, I mean, I don't like putting hands on people. I really don't. And I'll give you a reason why. In my own experience, I used to have, when I got out of the military, I had a small chain of pubs and restaurants. And the one evening I got involved in an altercation in one of the public houses that I had, where we had to get people out. I was done for a fray. I was arrested for a fray. Okay. Well, anybody knows that's serious. That's a serious charge.
Well,
okay?
Yeah, isn't that one below ABH?
Yeah. A fray. Okay. So it went on for nearly 9 months. It cost me thousands and thousands of pounds in solicitors' fees. And when it actually came to court, there was no evidence provided and it was thrown out. But I went through all that hassle, okay, and all that heartache, all that, worry, anxiety, and thousands.
You'll never get the time and the pain that stress caused. You'll never get that back.
And I mean, so I'm very reluctant to actually put hands on people. And as I've mentioned to you, as a close protection provider, my job is to get away from danger anyway. Okay. But then, you then, if you have a look at that, you then have to look at people assisting people in the street that have had medical issues. What do you do then?
There's a classic quote which sort of covers my feeling about this, which is all that is required for evil to prevail is for good men to do nothing.
And we've mentioned it. Yeah, I mean that was the Nazi hunter, wasn't it? That was
absolutely.
Yeah. And I mean the thing is, we get in, and this is what it comes down to. I believe strongly, because I'm talking to people in the security industry a lot. That's my job, and there are so many security departments in large organizations that are being led by lawyers and legal people. Okay. And when you're a lawyer, you are thinking about litigation all the time. When we look at health and safety law, okay, one of the prime objectives of health and safety is there to make sure you don't get sued as an organization. And I really think that we are going down, security departments, organizations are going down this route now where they are too concerned about litigation that will come against them rather than protecting the people who are in their stores.
So is this man a hero? Did he do the right thing or did he do the wrong thing?
Well, again, it's hard to know, but on first glance, I would say, yeah, absolutely.
So Mighty, you should be ashamed of yourselves. The guy was maybe he needs more training, but he doesn't deserve to be fired.
Mighty needs to look at their internal processes. Again, it's a training issue. Did he have physical intervention? Were his roles and responsibilities documented? Did he have training for all this? I can tell you something, and I'll tell you this as a fact again. I was giving advice to security companies who were providing security for the NHS. And I was mortified that security guards were being asked to hold down patients when medication was being admitted. Yeah. And I'm like, well, have they been trained?
That, to me, it's got all the shades of 1984 on it.
Well, no, but this is it, and I'm like, okay, well, that's not that's not part of our contractual obligations to do that. Have these security staff been trained? No, they haven't, and it's ridiculous, So you do get a certain amount of mission creep, but training is a massive issue with this. Training is a massive issue, and again, if you get a lot of retail staff at the moment have been told directly, or it might be even in their contract, that if there is something going on in the store, they do not confront shoplifters, they just let them go. And that is why we've got such an increase, 25% increase in retail theft. But do you know who's paying for that retail theft? We are. That shrinkage is passed on in higher prices.
Yes, unfortunately, we pay for all this stuff. So look, I'm going to wind this up for today. Look, Richard, thank you once again for absolutely bringing to our attention something that is in many ways shameful, but also on top of that, something we should all be aware of. The people that you recall as your security guards, and this may also apply to those, what's becoming ever more popular within gated communities, these so-called extra police that they have on there, the contract security people down there. If they're not trained for the right things and they've not been given permission or that it's been validated that they should do so, they may not be able or willing to physically put hands on people.
Yeah.
And you may then question the validity of having them in the first place, since it makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. If they can't do the job and they haven't been given that necessary training, because that's really important here. Because if an employer does not provide training for an employee on how to do something, then that employer is responsible for anything that could happen to that employee.
And I would say to you, if you have any questions about this or you want to debate it, please find Richard Pendry, the Risk Consultancy, on LinkedIn, or approach myself and I'll put you in touch with him. Certainly, these are topics amongst many others that we cover. Find us every Friday. Richard, thank you once again for being part of this. I think it's essential that people see things from as many different angles as they can. And not sit within their own cloud cuckoo land. It's useful that they hear what's really going on. My name's Gareth from Many Purple Hats. I wish everybody a wonderful, safe weekend and, of course, great mental health. Bye-bye now.